4, 3, 2, 1. Lift off Starship.
Flight 13 lasted a little more than an hour. In that time, Super Heavy launched cleanly, separated from the ship, and turned back toward the Texas coast. Its final landing burn did not work as planned, and the booster hit the water too fast. Starship kept going. It deployed 20 real Starlink V3 satellites. It restarted a Raptor engine in space. It crossed re-entry with experimental heat shield hardware. Then it made the softest water landing a Starship has ever shown. The ship did not explode at contact. It rolled onto its side, floated in the Indian Ocean, and kept sending video. That ending is the image people will remember. But Flight 13 mattered long before the landing. This was only the second flight of the new Starship V3 system. It was also the first Starship flight to carry real next-generation Starlink satellites instead of payload simulators. SpaceX was testing a launch vehicle, a satellite dispenser, a new satellite design, an engine restart, and a reusable heat shield in the same flight. None of it was going to orbit. The ship followed a planned suborbital path. The satellites would separate, operate briefly, and then re-enter roughly 20 minutes later. SpaceX accepted the loss of 20 advanced spacecraft because the real test was whether Starship could release them cleanly and whether they could work after deployment. Flight 12 had shown why the next attempt could not simply repeat the same plan. During separation on that flight, small timing differences between the ship's engine starts pushed the booster's flip about 90 degrees away from the intended direction. 5 of Super Heavy's engines then had problems during the boost-back relight, ending that burn early. The ship also lost one vacuum Raptor about 40 seconds after separation, although it still reached the planned trajectory. For Flight 13, SpaceX changed the startup sequence, modified booster hardware to improve engine relights, and revised the ship's propulsion system. And the new attempt nearly ended before it began. On July 16th, the countdown reached 0, and flames appeared beneath Super Heavy, but several engines failed to meet the conditions for launch. The automated system held the rocket on the pad. SpaceX later replaced 6 of the booster's 33 engines. A second attempt was delayed by cloud cover. SpaceX wanted clear ground images of the heat shield during ascent because this flight would place greater aerodynamic loads on the tiles. Waiting for the right sky was part of the experiment. 8 days after the first abort, the countdown returned to the same point. This time, all 33 Raptor engines started. The 407-foot stack cleared the tower and climbed over the Gulf. It passed maximum aerodynamic pressure at 58 seconds. Just after 2 minutes, most booster engines shut down and the ship lit its own engines while the stages were still connected. That hot staging maneuver pushed Starship away as Super Heavy began its flip. The change made after Flight 12 worked. The booster turned in the intended direction and completed its boost-back burn. For several minutes, the flight looked clean on both sides of the split. Then Super Heavy reached its final test. The booster was not attempting a tower catch. It was aiming for a controlled water landing offshore. 13 engines were expected to begin the landing sequence before the booster stepped down to a smaller group. Not enough engines came back. The webcast lost useful camera coverage near the water, but the telemetry and later reporting showed the result. Super Heavy descended too quickly and struck the Gulf hard. The booster had completed launch, separation, and boost back. It had not completed a soft splashdown. So, 7 minutes into Flight 13, the result was mixed. The stack had launched and separated correctly. The boostback had worked. The booster's last engine restart had not. From that point, Flight 13 became the ship's story. Starship shut down its 6 engines a little after 8 minutes and coasted to an altitude near 200 kilometers. At 16 minutes and 40 seconds, the payload sequence began. One by one, 20 Starlink V3 satellites moved through the opening in the side of the ship. These satellites explain why Starship is so important to SpaceX as a business. Starlink says each V3 satellite is designed for 1 terabit per second of downlink capacity, roughly 10 times the downlink capacity of V2. The satellites are larger, draw more power, and carry upgraded antennas and high-capacity laser links. SpaceX says a future operational Starship could carry as many as 60 of them to low Earth orbit. Flight 13 carried 20, because this was still a test. After release, SpaceX had about 20 minutes to command the new solar arrays and antennas, contact the satellites, and activate their communication systems. The webcast later confirmed contact with all 20 and communication over laser links. 6 carried cameras pointed back at Starship, turning the payload into a set of free-flying heat shield inspectors. Several installed tiles had been painted white as targets in a missing tile experiment. SpaceX also installed load-sensing tiles, tested different attachment methods around the aft skirt, and placed tiles on the metallic side of the rear flaps. The satellites were real. Their short lives were deliberate. They proved the dispenser and gathered data before following Starship back into the atmosphere. At 38 minutes and 58 seconds, the ship reached another test Flight 12 had missed. One sea-level Raptor restarted in space. The burn was brief, but a distinction matters. Reaching space once does not make a useful spacecraft. A future Starship must start its engines again to change its path, leave orbit, and target a landing. Flight 13 did not prove every one of those operations. It did show that one Raptor could shut down, coast for half an hour, and light again in flight. Then the quiet part ended. At 47.5 minutes, Starship met the upper atmosphere. A violet glow formed along the vehicle. The plasma brightened, spread across the flaps, and turned orange as the air thickened. This was the flight's longest experiment. SpaceX had deliberately pushed the heat shield harder during ascent. It had changed tile attachments, added sensors, and given 6 satellite cameras to inspect the surface from outside. Re-entry tested the same system from the other direction, and the sustained heating and pressure. The webcast showed the vehicle continuously for much of the descent. The views changed from darkness and plasma to blue atmosphere, then to the Indian Ocean below. The flaps kept moving to control the fall. At 1 hour, 2 minutes and 23 seconds, the ship became transonic. 38 seconds later, it was subsonic. By then, the ship had completed 3 separate jobs. It had released the payload, restarted an engine in space, and remained controlled through re-entry. One question remained: how gently could it meet the ocean? At 1 hour, 5 minutes and 1 second, 3 engines started for the landing burn. 2 seconds later, the ship began its flip from a horizontal fall to a vertical landing position. The engine sequence then stepped from 3 to 2, and from 2 to 1. At 1 hour, 5 minutes and 21 seconds, Starship reached the water. Previous ships had managed controlled splashdowns. Flight 12 also reached the surface before breaking apart. Flight 13 was different. The vehicle touched down slowly enough to remain recognizably whole. It tipped onto its side, with small fire still visible near the engine section, and continued to float. The cameras stayed alive. Telemetry kept moving. The webcast team could still see the ship sitting in the water more than 16,000 kilometers from the launch site. Behind the presenters, the room erupted. SpaceX called it the first time an intact Starship had been placed in the water. The live pictures were still crossing half the world through Starlink. This was not proof that Starship could be flown again. Salt water, fire, impact loads, and unseen structural damage still mattered. SpaceX had not announced a recovery attempt, but the landing was gentle enough to preserve the vehicle and its data stream after contact. For a test built around heat shield and landing performance, that was the best possible ending available at sea. The final score is less tidy than either success or failure. Super Heavy launched, separated, and turned back correctly, but its landing burn engine problem remained. Starship completed its ascent without the engine loss seen on Flight 12. It released all 20 V3 satellites, contacted everyone, and established laser communications. 6 were positioned to photograph the heat shield. The ship started a Raptor, survived re-entry, performed the landing flip, and reached the Indian Ocean intact. It still did not reach orbit. Nothing was recovered for reuse. No tower catch was attempted. The 20 satellites were expected to burn up. Those limits matter because the next phase is harder. SpaceX still has to make booster relights dependable, place Starship in orbit, return it safely, and prove that same hardware can fly again. Orbital refueling and lunar missions sit beyond those steps. Flight 13 did not solve all of that. What it did was separate the remaining problems. The booster showed exactly where its engine restart work is unfinished. The ship combined payload deployment, an in-space restart, re-entry, and a precise landing in one flight. Then, instead of disappearing beneath the water or exploding on contact, it stayed on the surface long enough for everyone watching to understand had changed.